place the project at least 70% above the cost for the project. So with that in mind, with the motions that are in front of you, we're looking to reject all the bids for the project, notify the bidders, notify DCNR to cancel the grants, and return any advanced grant funding as it is, and obtain any final electronic and hard copy documents. So unless there's any other questions, that's kind of based on those bids, that's where our mindset is on canceling the project.
All right, thank you, Michael. Is there any other questions or comments?
Well, Michael, in regards to the bridge replacement, is there any plans to downgrade it or to
No.
bring it down? Okay.
There is not.
Just about that.
Yeah, I think Steve and I agree with this motion, this one. Keep that down there. That's probably fine. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, I'll make a motion to send letters to PADCNR and the County of Chester Department of Open Space Preservation to cancel the grants, including an explanation of the unexpected circumstances that led to this decision.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Make a motion to return the advanced grant funding to PADCNR.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. And finally, I'll make a motion that before final payment to E.B. Walsh, that we obtain a final electronic and hard copy documents of the final project design, bid, and specs packages and grant applications prepared by E.B. Walsh for this project for possible future use. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Next, the PICO Green Regions Grant.
So we don't have a motion in front of you in regard to that, but until the finalization of the budget, we're looking to just kind of put that on hold. Brian Carlin and Jan Bowers will continue on as volunteers to help shepherd that after the decision this evening. So there's no motion in that regard, just kind of putting it on hold, waiting on that decision. And that's pretty much it as far as that's concerned.
Thank you, Michael. And I did want to point out also that December 3rd, 2015 was the final meeting of the current Park and Rec Board. And at this time, Michael, obviously you're already up here. I'd like to ask Brian, Carlin, Dan Johns to come up. And is Jan and Jean?
They are not.
They're not able to come tonight? Okay. And being that December 3rd was the final meeting for the current Park and Rec Commission, on behalf of the Township, the Board of Supervisors, I'd like to thank the three of you for your service over the years. Also, Jan and Jean, who could not be here tonight. And forgive me, the amount of time you guys have been on the board, Brian, I know it's been 10, 11 years. It's been longer than that? 8 years? Okay. Michael, it's been, what, 5 years? Okay. And Dan, 7 or 8? Okay. So we just wanted to recognize you for the tremendous job that you do. And I think a lot of people don't realize the amount of volunteer hours that go into being on one of these commissions. Obviously, it's, like I said, it's volunteer. It's not a paid position. So these gentlemen, as well as Jan Bowers and Jean Berlin, who could not be here tonight, put in countless hours over the years. So I'd just like to give them a round of applause and recognize each of them individually. Michael, if you come up here, we'll present you with this plaque and Park Day t-shirt. Next up, Brian Carling. Brian, thank you.
Appreciate it. You got it. Thanks, guys. Pleasure. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And last but certainly not least.
Nope. Gene's here.
Oh, hi, Gene. Thank you. Even though he's wearing a Penn State shirt today, I would like to recognize Dan Johns for his time on the board.
Ohio State.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And last but not least, Gene Berlin. And again, just thank you to all of you guys for, like I said, for your hours over the years. We really do appreciate it. I know, as I said, sometimes it's not recognized right away, but you know, as a board, we appreciate all the hard work you guys have put in. So if we could, one final round of applause for the parking lot.
So Michael, do you have any other projects before Park and Rec?
Say it again?
Do you have any other projects that are outstanding with the park as far as the funds that are going to
No.
be returned? No, okay.
And that was part of the decision-making in regard to canceling this project, is to fiscally be kind of responsible and not depleting all those funds, so that we're leaving something for the next team
Okay.
to be able to take on more projects. And if more grants come along, there's funds in there to match,
Okay.
so that we're not, because we would have depleted the funds significantly
Exactly.
had we gone that route. So that's kind of the mentality moving forward, is that there will be funds there to take on new projects. But as of right now, no. Other than the PICU grant, based on the decision with the budget, you know, that's the only outstanding grant. Like Brian, Dan, is that correct? Other than the PICU grant, I don't think there's anything else significant.
So what's the balance of those funds offhand? About 230, is that correct, Tom?
About 237.
It's 237, okay. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Next, we're going to move to citizens by request. Tonight, citizens by request and public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person. First up is Ronald P. Scott.
Good evening, sirs. I hope maybe somebody will give me an extra minute here. Where is Mr. Toth at tonight? I heard no comment as to why the full board is not here. No one has any idea. First of all, gentlemen, tonight you're going to hopefully adopt a new real estate tax. As we all know, there was 3 for, and 2 against. My comments now will be directed strictly to Mr. Porter. Mr. Porter, I hope tonight you will put aside everything and go with a unanimous board of supervisors to approve a 2 mil real estate tax. And looking at our budget, which comes off the computer, we're looking at $3 million, almost $500,000 in a budget for 2016. However, in that, there shows that there's only $306,366.94 in a capital project fund, which in my day was called a rainy day fund. That shows that the Board of Supervisors and the Township have operating on a shoestring for the last several years. We cannot, if something comes up bad snow, breakdown, something happened, yes, there's insurance. But on the other hand, $303,000 can go out very quickly when you're talking about having contractors come in or something has to be replaced. And I don't see any money in the budget to replace that over $306,000, not by the printout that we have. We need to bring that up. Now, being a retired person in this township, and if I'm wrong, somebody's going to guarantee to make sure that I'm put straight. My understanding is a working family should have maybe about a year's salary put put away somewheres, that if something happens, you get laid off, get sick, or whatever the case might be, that you can fall back on that. At $3 million, we should have at least $1.5 million in reserves. That's my way of thinking. That would be half of what our budget is. We need to continue to grow this township in roads. I would like to know, and I'll wait till after January the 1st, but I would like to know what have we put off for the last 6 years. And the reason why I say 6 years, Mr. Toth is the first one going off the board. The rest of you will go off at a later time, okay, or become up for re-election. What is it that you have put off? As a former supervisor, we looked at, prioritized what we had. We didn't put everything off. We might not do everything every year, but we did not put it back where you didn't do it at all. And that's sort of gotten me right now. What haven't we done in this township for the last 6 years as far as roads,
10 seconds.
township building? Okay, maybe somebody will grant me the thing. I'm asking Mr. Porter, if you will not, or will you please vote 100% for this new real estate tax, not say nay. I would appreciate it very much to show that there is a full board of supervisors that understand that things have to be done in the coming year of 2016 and further on.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. And you will get a chance to talk again after we motion on it.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
Thank you. Mrs. Crook?
I addressed the board at the workshop a couple of weeks ago about implementing a fundraiser for the police department. And I understand at that time, the question came up as to whether I would need, say, a 503C. And the question was going to be put to the attorney to let me know tonight if we could do a Super Bowl Sunday fundraiser. And if we could, what were going to be the parameters that we have to do in order to have that fundraiser.
The 501c3 fundraiser?
No, do we need to have a 503C fundraiser in order to do a fundraiser on Super Bowl Sunday that would benefit the police department?
I'm going to have to look back into that issue.
So in other words, February Super Bowl Sunday, we can't have it because it's 5 weeks, 6 weeks away. And without the answer tonight, there's not enough time to plan unless you can get back by the end of December.
It should be able to.
Okay, so right now, anybody that's interested, we're in limbo, but hopefully we can do a Super Bowl Sunday, and I guess we'll try and use Facebook to let people know what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nash? Thomas Nash? In attendance? Okay. All right. Next up, 2016 budget adoption. I make a motion to adopt the 2016 November 24th, 2015 budget as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Ms. Scott?
I'm Sharon Rhodes Scott, an elected auditor of this township. I have been an elected auditor in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. I was elected as a Coastal Area School District Director in 1999, served 4 year term. I speak with experience. In fact, I have also been an East Fallowfield Township Supervisor for 6 years in the 90s. So I speak with experience and fact. And I would first off state that I object to this budget. I find that this whole operation, as well as the county, is a rigged operation. I will give you a copy of, and I'm going to ask if somebody would do that at the same time. first I would comment regarding Ron Scott's comment. When Ron Scott came into supervisorship of East Fallowfield Township, he put me out as treasurer. He also brought the police to trial, to court, to get rid of police officers. Created an extreme amount of legal expense. Let's see what else. Oh, Ron Scott also, at a township meeting that was held here, stood up and said he is now a retired rich man, thanks to Alan Novak's economic development. So, there we go. Ron Scott's son was given a police job in Tredyffrin. His other two sons either took his business over and/or they all have jobs. No harm done to his family. So, that's that. Secondly, so the papers that I have given you, first look at that budget that says,
Okay, you have 10 seconds, Mrs. Scott.
well, the one shows you where audits have done and have not been signed. So I find, how can you pass a budget on anything? That is back at that time. Then also,
Thank you, Mrs. Scott.
now, I'm just going to finish by saying, I would want you to not pass this budget and immediately contact the Attorney General, Kathleen Kane, to investigate East Fallowfield in reference to Lamb Law Firm, Alan Novak, Bill
Thank you, Mrs.
Skip
Scott.
Ryan, and
Is
also
there any other public comment?
communicate
Mr. Johns,
with
you
the
come up.
labor and racketeering program.
Thank you, Mrs. Scott. Your time is up. Thank you. Mr. Johns.
I am also retired. And as much as I don't want any additional taxes, I have watched this township squeak by for the last 6 years. With putting things aside, and we don't want the state troopers covering our area. We want East Fallowfield police out there. We can't live in the past. We have to look forward and do what's right in a growing community. So I encourage the board to pass the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johns. Mr. Deckman. Chief Deckman, sorry.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, neighbors, friends. Happy holidays to everyone. If I put my fire chief's hat on for a minute, I commend you, and I hope you're going to do the right thing to pass this proposed budget. I think Chief Sly has taken great strides to take small steps, working with a relationship, trying to show you the needs of the fire company. We didn't come in here with huge demands. I did kind of lose my cool a little bit last month when I thought we were going to take a step backwards, and I don't think for the long term of this community, the good of anybody, that was a good step. So I hope, as it's been said, I hope you'll go on and pass this proposed budget. As a resident, I will say, I heard some comments last night, our close proximity to Coatesville. We all know what's down in there. I am very happy. I've lived here since 1984, successfully raised 2 sons. They made it through Coatesville High School. They went on to graduate college. And maybe that's part of what I did, or maybe that's a part of the great community that we live in. And I think that there's representation here of that great community. And I think we need to pass this budget to make sure we keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Deckman. Mrs. Lowe, if you could come up.
going to speak on behalf of my husband, who can't be here tonight, of how important it was for us when the East Fallowfield police were able to come as first responders in the emergency we had 2 years ago. They were there supporting and helping and sort of taking care of the situation. My husband had a toxic situation where he was going to go into like toxic shock, and they were there until the paramedics came, and then they were able to immediately have full access to information, and everything was set up and get him to the hospital. This would not have happened with regional, it would have been the opposite, and I could have had a dead man. So I urge you to do what it takes to keep our excellent service here. I'm not afraid of Coatesville. I work at the library in town. I love the area, I love the whole area. It's important that we have this. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bell. Any other questions or comments, board members?
Sure. Just Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott, you had specifically asked me some questions or how I vote tonight. You had specifically asked me some questions or how I vote tonight. And I remember clearly being at your home when I was campaigning. And I clearly remember handing you my campaign flyer. And I was very honest to residents when I ran for election. I had on there that I wouldn't vote through a property tax. And I was elected in that election year. Why I've sat here as supervisor, I've watched a lot of wasteful spending from the township buying $40 or $50 turkeys for not only the employees, but also for the supervisors, and no one having problems with that. I witnessed a case last year where a historic commission member was charged and taken all the way to Chester County courts, allegedly stalking and harassing a supervisor. And it was never identified in there that he was a supervisor. Yet that same historic commission member would ask the board if anyone was working in the office, if any of the supervisors were working in the office. And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, he's brought up on charges for stalking and harassment. And I'm not even sure how much money was wasted in that, or if that even, in my opinion, falls underneath possibly color of law. I don't like some of the things that are going on in this township, and especially in the spending that's going on. If you do not address the spending and how this township's using its money, we will only be back at this point next January, which is expected with this current budget. There is a lot of things that are just really high. I think one of the secretaries getting a 33% increase in salary. So some things are not being taken care of. I mean, some of the things that you addressed, Mr. Scott, were in the idea of taking away the trash fee and making it into a tax, so it would be tax deductible for everyone. This budget doesn't even address that. Everyone's being taxed for in a sense, for their trash, at the same time they're being taxed with millage. And this millage rate is higher than other municipalities I'm surveying with full-time police forces. Salisbury Township is 1.05 mils for their tax. As far as the things that haven't been done by this board, mainly the one is Mortonville Road. I mean, that is a unique situation with the road collapse there. It's a lot of money to be able to fix that road. That is one project that the board has pushed down the line. But not too many other ones that I can think of. We've really addressed, as we go through, addressing projects as they come. Just wanted to respond to your comment.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Vermeil?
Thank you very much, board members. First, I'd like to say how much I appreciate the job the community has done for a long time before your board, before the boards before them. I've been here 27 years, and I really appreciate East Fallowfield and the leadership. Not that we don't have some problems, but the problem we have in the country today are security. And we may be one of the few areas in the country that are talking about maybe not being as secure as we ought to be. And it's a whole theme throughout the United States to make sure we maintain the security for our communities as good as it is, or if not, try to make it better. And that's one of the main reasons I'm in favor of the raising. I know the taxes, I know I can afford to pay more taxes, and I'm more fortunate maybe than some people, and I appreciate that and respect that. But by cutting certain things or not allowing us to grow in the areas of security and fire departments. I've experienced the use of your fire department early in my campaign, so I have great appreciation and respect. So I'd just like to say I'm very much in favor of us increasing our taxes in as much as we need to do it right for even those people that are against us, because they ever have to call on it, even though they don't want to raise the tax, they will appreciate the fact that it was passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vermeil. Mr. Rhodes.
For the roads, and I'd just like to say Merry Christmas to all of us, all right?
Thank you.
A lot of people say Happy Holidays, but I like to say Merry Christmas to all of us. Next thing I would like to say, and I've been here, I guess I'm 70 years, so I've been in Township 70 years. And I happen to know most of you people here, and just like the park, police department, the fire, Modena Fire Company, and they had to come to my place when one of my vehicles got caught on fire and almost got my barn. So what I would see, and I happen to know a lot of the road departments, you know, and the roads are, certain roads in this township you can go on, and there's only 3 houses, and we spent $900,000 on the one going to the covered bridge that'd be closed down for 5 years. They just started to work on that covered bridge. And East Fallowfield's lucky to have 3 covered bridges in our township. 2 of them are on private property now. There's only 15 in the whole county, so we are lucky to have a historical township like we have today. But you know, when we talk about taxes here, and I hear the one lady talk about the library. Everybody cuts back on the libraries, and that's where our kids, you know, go there for getting information, you know, and myself included. But in reference to I would like to see that, I know we put a resolution on to get 5 supervisors, all right? And a lot of people did. The present 3 supervisors at that time did not want it, but we put it to the people, and the people wanted 5 supervisors. So why don't you put it to a resolution in reference to a fire tax, all right? That's something that, you know, East Brandywine, I've been watching, I go to their township meetings too, and there was nothing put in the budget for them. So you can only work with the budget you have. So I'd like to see a resolution, or maybe we get a petition up and get it on the ballot that we can have a fire tax, all right? And as far as, yes, I'm one of the persons that retired, just like Ron Scott, Sharon Scott, and a lot, Glenn Carr. I can mention a lot of you people out there who are retired. We get nothing in our Social Security, all right? And I'm so happy I'm in the military. No one in the military is going to get any increase, all right? We all have different, what we had to live by our means. And I just like you gentlemen there's a lot of projects that you did do. We spent a lot of money that we shouldn't.
10 seconds, Mr.
All
Rhodes.
right, well, you have a nice Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Andy?
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, crowd. Last time we met, I raised a concern, a risk. I don't know if you guys remember my concern, or risk. Do you recall?
Do you want to restate it for everybody, Andy?
Basically, my concern was the threat of terrorism in America, and that the boys and girls in blue are the only ones holding the line. Our country has changed since San Bernardino. A lot has changed, a lot of concerns have changed. You know, I think one of the number one concerns to Americans is the threat of terrorists, homegrown and abroad. I'm really concerned about reducing our of course, military, but also police force. Something really concerns me, as I think it concerns everyone in Homeland Defense and security. We can't be complacent thinking that we're in a small little town, it's not going to happen to us. It can happen